I'm not even convinced that there was really a misdemeanor that Trump committed. So my fellow panelist here is celebrating that the rule of law has been vindicated and overturned 234 years of American legal tradition. I would challenge her to see if she could possibly articulate how and what crime Trump committed, because so far Alvin Bragg, the DA, has failed to do so. The judge in the case, Judge Merchan, has failed to do so. And they can't do it because Trump didn't commit any of the crimes for which he's been convicted.
Well, let's just ask quickly before I go to Kevin. Francesca, just on that point, what crime did Trump commit?
It was financial crimes. It was white collar crimes. That is exactly what they charged him. He was convicted on.
What was the crime?
It's New York State law.
I understand. What was the crime?
It is New.
Francesca,
I don't even like it. It is
hang on, Mark,
he just got convicted on 34 counts.
Francesca, what was the crime?
Of like cooking the actual books.
What was the crime?
You are not allowed. So you are not allowed to use your own financial, like your own money.
That was actually painful to watch. But trust me, it gets worse. Do you want to see a libnut get absolutely destroyed? Of course you do. It's absolutely delicious. Francesca Fiorentini has appeared on MSNBC and a bunch of the liberal outlets, and of course she's also been a part of the Young Turks. But recently she was included on a panel on Piers Morgan Uncensored, and perhaps she should have declined to appear because she got, oh my God, roasted. And I mean absolutely embarrassed. Well, as embarrassed as a libnut can possibly be. Remember that old show, To Be a Millionaire or whatever it was called, and they offered you a lifeline? She could have used a lifeline or two during her appearance here, because she definitely needed to make a call for more information. On this panel with these guys, she needed someone to help her. Watching it, it seemed unfair, but she brought it on herself. I saw a video that Lou Valentino put out, and I think we found the kryptonite for the libnuts.
Oh, no. So what crime did he commit? Who? Donald Trump.
I am not a lawyer.
You're not a lawyer.
A jury of his peers found him
Of his
guilty.
peers.
Yeah.
Found him guilty, yeah, for sure. For what? There you go. There you go.
Just ask them what crime did Donald Trump actually commit, and they're going to be flabbergasted. They can't answer that simple question. But you know why? Because the answer to it doesn't exist. But at least the guy who Lou Valentino interviewed realized he was trapped and ran away. Poor Francesca decided she was going to go toe-to-toe with these guys on the panel, and she got obliterated. I think you'll agree. Let's check it out and react to it.
Francesca, my question for you is, I understand how joyous you must be feeling that Donald Trump has been convicted because he slept with a porn star 20 years ago and may have shuffled some business papers about it. But why is it good for America that one of your 46 presidents has been treated in such a humiliating manner over something so trivial? And why do you guys not see that this might help him rather than hinder him in the election?
I happen to believe, Piers, that it's good for America when you hold the person who has the highest office in the land to the standards of the American law. And in this case, New York State law, where he committed these crimes. I happen to believe that it is a telltale sign of coming totalitarianism, fascism.
Stop. You ever notice that they throw around these terms that they have no idea what they actually mean? Everybody is a fascist. Everybody is a totalitarianist. They don't seem to have any grip on what exactly those terms mean. Maybe they should go look them up and understand what guys like Mussolini actually were before you start just putting them on Trump because of your TDS.
Wording of the law when you allow a president to simply do whatever he wants and actually never hold him accountable. But look, the reality is this.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure that the current occupant of the White House got a Supreme Court ruling that said he couldn't give away money for student loan forgiveness. He did it. I don't see you trying to hold him to account. No, it's different. Why? Because it's Trump.
Is that these aren't crimes that were on the books in every single state. These are crimes that are on the books in New York State, as we talked about, all right? And so he knew exactly what he was doing. In fact, this is the most important part, is that David Pecker of the National Enquirer refused to keep on paying his hush money payments because the dude was tired of getting paid back in expired Trump stakes.
She actually said that. David Pecker was tired of getting paid back with expired Trump stakes. She went on a panel with 4 guys here, 4 esteemed, successful men. By the way, that's Michael Knowles, Mark, I can't say his last name, big time attorney. Obviously Kevin, you know, Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank, and of course Piers Morgan. And she has the audacity to say that David Pecker didn't feel like getting paid back with expired Trump stake. Come on, girl. Elevate your game.
And he was like, no, I'm not going to do it this time, especially not with a porn star. And so Michael Cohen had to do the payments on behalf of Donald Trump. Michael Cohen already spent 3 years mostly on house arrest, but he was already sentenced to 3 years over this. This is squarely Trump's making. This has nothing to do with his base. It has nothing to do with protecting American democracy like happened on January 6th.
Notice I should just slip that in there as well. I'd love to debate her over that. I wish these guys took her on about that.
According to them, this has to do with Trump making his bronzer-stained bed with a porn star.
Denigration is all they have. They can't even contain themselves, can't even just speak to people in a normal business-like professional manner. Everything has to be a dig. Everything has to be an insult. It just shows your lack of intelligence, your lack of ability to converse. And all you want to do is just lob insults. But she gonna get hers. It's coming.
Trying to cover it up and then getting caught doing it.
And out of interest, before I go to Michael, out of interest, why is Bill Clinton able to have sex with an intern in the Oval Office when he's president? And
she looks surprised by that. What?
Lie to the American people about it on national television? And why is he able to pay off Paula Jones $850,000, 4 times as much, 5 times as much as the Trump payment to Stormy Daniels, to get rid of a sexual harassment claim, again, while he's president? And he has no criminal court recourse for that. Why is that deemed to be better than what happened with Trump and Stormy?
Now understand this as well. He did that while he was president. He did that in the Oval Office. I did not have sexual relations with that woman. This whole Stormy Daniels thing was way before Trump even became president. So Piers asked a great question there. You know, why didn't anybody have a problem? Some people did with him doing what he did. He got nasty with an intern, someone that was under his control and influence. Nobody seemed to want to, put him in jail for that.
I don't think anyone is making that case, Piers. I'm
asking you, what's the difference? What's the difference?
Or any predator. The difference is that he didn't cook the books financially using his own, using back channels in order to pay.
So paying somebody off who says you sexually harassed her, paying nearly $1 million while you're the president of the United States, and then having sex with an intern in the Oval Office and lying about it, that's fine because he's a Democrat.
If you notice, watch the faces of Mark Garagos, I believe is his last name. He realizes, oh man, this woman is way over her head. She's like Mr. Wonderful should say, you're swimming with the sharks right now, and you have no idea. You're just a minnow, right? You're gonna get eaten alive.
Piers, only the leftists in your mind are making that argument.
Sorry?
What?
I said only the Democrats and the leftist mob in your mind are making that argument that you're opposing to it. I will say this about Stormy Daniels. I think it's incredible that she accepted $130,000.
Now here, she's going to deflect right now to an awful insult about Trump.
From Michael Cohen, because honestly, if I had the misfortune of sleeping with Donald Trump, no matter what the circumstances, let's say I had mad cow and then I did DMT on an empty stomach. If I had the misfortune of sleeping with Donald Trump, there is no amount of money you could pay me to keep quiet about it because I would never tell a single soul. I would fake my own death and move to the Galapagos and pretend to be a bird.
I thought I had to go look her up. I had to find out, who is this woman? I mean, seriously, is she a comedian? Maybe I thought they brought somebody in for comedic relief. I didn't know she's actually just basically a political activist. She is a person who commentates on politics. She's been on MSNBC. She's been on the Young Turks. She's hosted these shows. I thought she was just a comedian. This is really bad, but it gets worse. You won't believe what you're going to hear.
I mean, I would say it's very unlikely you would ever get the offer, but you do look quite like Karen McDougal, funny enough.
Oh, so I'm not cute enough to.
No, I just said you are. I said you're very much in his.
that
Actually, it's a compliment. Yes.
She doesn't even know who Karen McDougal is. That's how bad it is. She went on this show, and it's obvious that she's never seen a picture of Karen McDougal. Shows even more she's unprepared. Right about now, you can tell they're starting to close in, and they're starting to say, I think we got something here. We're going to shred this chick. She has no idea what she's talking about. And so what's about to happen is just classic. It's just must-see TV or must-see YouTube. Watch this.
Yeah, it was a compliment. Let's go to Michael. Michael, look, I do think there's a ridiculous double standard here that will come back and bite the Democrats for the reasons that Mark Garagos said about historically, you've seen this coming a mile off, where both parties starting to ratchet up this concept of kind of going after each other's leaders in criminal courts. I mean, you've seen this normally in banana republics, not in the United States of America. And it really does worry me, as someone who loves America and loves Americans, what this is leading to. Because if all that happens in each term of office is one...
You see her just shaking her head. She just can't wait to interject again with some more just nuttery. But she's going to get hers.
One party trying to incarcerate the other's leader. I don't know where that leaves America in a few years' time.
Yes, and it's pretty clear this is not a man who thinks that he has to be accountable to the American people. When you look at the federal charge against Trump, there was a poll that came out when that charge was brought that showed 62% of Americans think that it's primarily politically motivated. They just don't seem to care. And so this has been a ratcheting up, as we've all noted on the panel, of trends that have been built up for some years now. Some would say going back to Richard Nixon, but certainly in the early Trump campaign, the Democrats tried to stop.
Notice the attorney on the panel is nodding in agreement with what Michael Knowles is saying.
Stop him from being president by spying on him and cooking up fake intelligence, ironically enough, with Russia. That didn't work. Then they tried to throw him out by impeaching him twice. That didn't work. Then they tried to kick him out by rigging the election and changing all the voter rules, in some cases in contravention of state constitutions leading up to that election. That did get him out of office, and he did leave office, but then he didn't go away. He kept running again. So then they indicted him 4 times. Now they've convicted him. They're going to threaten to throw him in prison. Pretty soon they're going to threaten to send him to St. Helena. But this has absolutely nothing to do with the law.
It's funny how she's shaking her head when every single thing he just said there is absolutely true. You can't even deny it. It's undeniable. Everything he said is what the Democrats have done to Donald Trump.
As noted earlier, at most you're talking about a misdemeanor that would have already expired under the statute of limitations. I'm not even convinced that there was really a misdemeanor that Trump committed. So my fellow panelist here is celebrating that the rule of law has been vindicated and overturned 234 years of American legal tradition. I would challenge her to see if she could possibly articulate how and what crime Trump committed, because so far Alvin Bragg, the DA, has failed to do so. The judge in the case, Judge Merchan, has failed to do so. And they can't do it because Trump didn't commit any of the crimes for which he's been convicted.
Well,
okay, now here it comes. I'm going to put this on full screen. I'm going to take my mug out of it because you have to see this woman completely get eviscerated by the people on this panel. She there's nothing she can say here. Okay, so watch this because it's incredible.
Let's just ask quickly before I go to Kevin. Francesca, just on that point, what crime did Trump commit?
It was financial crimes. It was white collar crimes. That is exactly what they charged him. He was convicted on.
What was the crime?
It's New York State law.
I understand. What was the crime?
It is New.
Francesca,
I don't even like it. It is
hang on,
literally. He just got convicted on 34 counts.
Francesca, what was the crime?
Of like cooking the actual books.
What was the crime?
You are not allowed. So you are not allowed to use your own financial, your own money to pay off somebody, and then he logged it as something different.
This woman has lost it. She's completely lost it. She doesn't even know what she's talking about. And she's like, he did something, he did 34 counts. There's no way they would have had 34 counts on him if something didn't happen. He got convicted of all this stuff. You can't just, click a button on your Quicken and decide you're going to call it a legal expense when it's not a legal expense. She has no idea what she's talking about. But it gets worse.
He logged it as just a regular payment, but he was actually paying off this porn star to keep quiet, which, if he hadn't been running for president, would not have mattered, but he was, and so it impacted campaign finance laws in New York State. Okay, that is what...
Campaign finance laws. Understand what she just said. She just talked about a federal crime. She doesn't even know what happened in New York.
Juan Merchan just oversaw.
Look at Garagos's face. He's smiling. Jane, you stupid idiot. You have no idea what you're talking about.
This. Alan Bragg brought these charges because Michael Cohen was already sentenced to 3 years to do it.
Let's just go before, Kevin, I'll be very, very, very patient. I will come to you.
Look, I'm no expert. Let me just say, hang on.
Oh yeah, we know that. You are definitely no expert. So you should have shut up from the beginning.
You are no expert. That's right. The campaign finance law is a federal law.
Hang on, anyway, Francesca. I want to go to Mark. You're the lawyer. Is anything Francesca just said, is that actually the crime?
Look, let me just say, I like Francesca a lot. And we probably agree on 80% of our worldviews.
Here it comes. We probably agree on most of this stuff. But I'm going to have to slap you down, girl.
However, Francesca, the way you just described it, call me afterwards and I'll educate you, because that's not what happened. There was no theory that was given to the jurors. The jurors were told it could have been campaign finance, it could have been tax, it could have been false books. They were told that they didn't have to specify, and specifically told they did not have to agree unanimously. That's what irks me. Lifelong Democrat, no fan of Trump, never voted for Trump, never will. But I will tell you, as somebody who has spent his entire career with kind of taking on unpopular causes and holding the government accountable, I have to tell you, I do that for a reason. And the reason is this kind of shenanigans, and that's the best light I can spin it on in the criminal courts, has no place in a federal election.
No, I agree.
The campaign finance laws were federal, not state.
She should have just taken off the microphone, kind of slithered away, and just, that Southwest Airlines commercial, you want to get away? Because right then would have been a good time to just get away. That would have been a perfect time to just go, I've been found out, I've been exposed, and I'm just going to slide away here. Wow, what a takedown.
I do want to just say, look, so the crimes were falsifying business records. Now, the reason I didn't know that before is because I'm not a lawyer and I'm not the journalist who is anchoring this entire show.
Oh, okay, so Piers, it's your fault. It's your fault for not telling me what the crime was, even though you basically set me up like a bowling pin and rolled me over. It's your fault. This is your show. You should have given me the information that you wanted me to discuss. That's what she just said. I'm not the host here. So what you didn't see, and I just cut it out because there was a lot of fluff, and she didn't realize she was on camera, is while they were talking, she starts Googling, or somebody was texting her, something was going on, and she found out she was completely lost and completely wrong. So she's trying to make it up right now.
We should have told you that it was falsifying business records. Now, on the other
because
point,
those aren't felonies,
I hear you that most Americans don't care about falsifying business records. I agree with Kevin and I agree with Piers. However, I will say this. Most Americans also are very much go on gut, and they don't like that a candidate is now a convicted felon, but moreover...
I think that's going to come back to bite you in the butt, lady. I don't think people care at this point that Trump is a convicted felon. And as you've noticed, I've said in a few of my videos, that's the prize. They just want to just keep saying that as many times as possible. And probably somebody sent that to her in a text as well.
This candidate is someone who, and it is not the crime, however we know, cheated on his pregnant wife with a porn star in a hotel in Lake Tahoe and then bragged about it and then tried to pay her to shut up, and also paid another Playboy bunny to also be quiet about their relationship.
Bill Clinton had sex with an intern
You're
in
going
the
back to Bill
Oval.
Clinton.
She's losing it right now. And I know I interrupted. Some people don't like when I interrupt, but you see what irks these people? It irks them that this guy was some kind of a playboy in his past. He's a billionaire living in New York, living the high life, and nobody had a problem. Nobody had a problem with how he was living his life when he was a Democrat, when he was fine, hobnobbing with Al Sharpton and Joe Scarborough and basically every politician, Hillary and Bill. Nobody had a problem with the lifestyle then. It's just Donald. That's the guy with all the money we need to cozy up to. But when he came down the golden escalator and said, I'm running as a Republican, all hell broke loose. And it's continued to break loose to this very day. And it's to the point now where some people in the media, like Miss Francesca, all they can do is talk about his exploits before. We're talking 2005, 2006. All they want to focus on is Central 5 from the 90s, Central Park 5. All they can do is try to basically protect Dementia Joe and talk about what Trump did. And so, unfortunately for her, and I do mean unfortunately, talking about Trump hanging out with a porn star, Trump hanging out with a Playboy model, isn't going to move the needle. People don't care. They're not going to look at ancient news and say, this is where we are now. Nowhere. And I watch a lot of news, so you guys don't have. Nowhere does anybody talk about the things that matter in people's lives today. The gas prices, the rent price, the grocery price. None of them even bring it up. In fact, Kamala Harris went on Jimmy Kimmel's show last night, and all she did is get out there and trash Trump. And in reference to her and people like her, they never have anything positive to say about what the existing regime is doing. It's like it doesn't even exist. It's amazing. It's trash Trump, trash Trump, trash Trump, as if we didn't know he allegedly did something with a porn star and allegedly did something with a Playboy model and has had 3-4 wives and different We all know that. It still was a better life for the rest of us before Dementia Joe got into office. Why is that a problem? Why don't you understand it? You're attacking the man that he was. You still think that's the man he is, but it doesn't affect your life whatsoever. What he did with Stormy, or what he didn't do with Stormy, what he did with McDougal and other Playboy models has nothing to do when I leave my house, when I turn on my lights, when I pay for stuff. I want to hear policy. I don't want to be flooded with newcomers everywhere hanging out on city streets. I don't want to see drugs all over the place. I don't want to see homeless. I don't want to see money being transferred to overseas governments that seem to be blowing the money, our money. I don't want to see that. I don't care at this point, and I'm going to make a point here. I don't care what Trump did way back then. The same way, and God's honest truth, I didn't care what Bill Clinton did. If you remember, Bill Clinton, with all his transgressions, had a booming economy. Things were going well. I didn't care what he was doing with Monica Lewinsky. That was between him and Hillary. Hillary, hey, listen, your husband cheated on you, and he did some crazy, nasty things. He got busy crazily. But that's between his wife and him. As far as doing business and getting his job done, I didn't have a problem with what Clinton, and I wasn't a Democrat. My thing is, the American people come first. The American people and their way of life comes first. If people can't afford to make ends meet and they look to the president, they don't care, and they're never going to ask, who did he sleep with last? What was he doing? No. Hey man, my groceries, my rent, my gas, wars. Do you realize that it just came out that they're talking about bringing back the draft to send people to go fight in a war that has nothing to do with us? I thought we learned our lesson about that. I thought we learned our lesson, 50 years plus ago about doing stuff like that. Do you think people care or will care what Trump did, who he slept with, if their sons or daughters get drafted to go fight in some faraway land? Do you think they care? I'll answer that. Hell no, they won't care. They don't want that to happen. Do you think people care when they go to the gas pump, what Trump did 20, 30 years ago? No, they don't. They want to live their lives. You people who are supposedly progressives seem to be stuck in the past, completely stuck in the past. But let's continue.
Because it's the only thing you have.
Well, it's not a bad thing to have.
You're
He was-
going back. No one's
unlike
talking
Trump,
about
he
Bill
was
Clinton.
president at the time.
You know, I don't mean to pick on Francesca too much here, but it's very telling that even
Pick on me.
the liberals who are going on television to defend this ruling have to Google in the breaks to figure out what the crime was. and even then, I'm sorry to say,
She was hoping nobody noticed, but he noticed, as I noticed, that she was Googling it in between the camera angles and everything else.
misrepresent what the actual supposed crime was.
Her mouth is wide open, just like,
The
I
reason
will Google
here
it
that
because
this has
it's literally not
well,
my
excuse me
job.
one second, Francesca. I'll
I
just
said
finish
he's
my point
cooking
real
the
quickly.
books. That's the same thing.
Yeah. It's not a felony, not a crime. But anyway, that's a point for another time. The reason why even the great
Happy
defenders
Pride.
of this conviction
Happy Pride, Michael.
can't.
why would she throw that out there? Happy Pride? I mean, seriously, is she trying to infer that Michael Knowles is somehow, you know what? I mean, he's married. I don't think he is, but it's not like there's anything wrong with that, right? That's what you people on the left, you progressive, actually applaud. So why would she have just thrown that in there out of the blue? It was kind of stunning to him, too. Happy Pride. The hell are you talking about? But anyway, that's what she said.
Yes, to you as well. The reason that they can't
Whatever.
articulate this is because it's not really a crime. That's why they had to upend 234 years of precedent for this. And it gets back to a point that you made earlier, Piers, and that you made, Kevin, which is that Alvin Bragg really overplayed his hand. Sure, he overplayed his hand to some degree, but what else were they going to do? Donald Trump was always going to be the Republican nominee in 2024. A lot of people feel that he was gypped in 2020. He's the biggest guy in the party. It was going to happen. And Trump poses a real threat to the liberal establishment. He's not a Mitt Romney type Republican. He has different views from the so-called uniparty on things like trade, on things like immigration, and things like foreign policy and war.
Things that matter, you mean? You know, things that actually count and matter to people in their everyday lives. She's talking about who he slept with 20, 25 years ago. Michael Knowles is exactly correct.
Trump posed a major threat. That's why they took such extraordinary measures for the last 8 years to take this guy out. They weren't able to do it politically. They weren't even really able to do it at the ballot box. So what's left? The only thing left to do is to try to throw him in prison so that he can't campaign for the election. I agree, it's backfiring.
This is not a federal case, Michael. You know that. It's not even a federal case. Why didn't she just shut up? Why didn't she just shut up and let the mansplaining go on? Because she's showing that she has no idea what she's talking about. By saying it's not a federal case, she's actually underscoring that Alvin Bragg screwed up this entire trial by putting campaign finance as one of the things that they could convict him on. you think that it's not a DOJ case, it's not a Biden case, it's not a Merrick Garland thing?
If you saw my video yesterday, which I urge you to go check out, where you saw Matt Gaetz completely tear apart the story about Merrick Garland, it is now quite apparent that Merrick Garland and the DOJ, and obviously Dementia Joe, had their hands in this Alvin Bragg case. If you haven't seen that video from yesterday, go ahead and check it out, because Matt Gaetz just completely ripped Merrick Garland apart and got him to stutter and give up some things and basically see him dance around some questions, because absolutely you'd have to be a complete moron not to realize that the Department of Justice was absolutely involved in the Alvin Bragg case in New York.
It's New York state law. So the idea that this is somehow politically motivated is all made up in your head, because what you
Biden's
do
DOJ is
on
also
your show
prosecuting
every
Donald
day
Trump twice.
is you groom your audience for fascism.
Maybe that's what I'm doing too. I'm grooming the audience for fascism. You see, they keep saying these terms because they need to denigrate you. They need to show that they are more righteous. They're better than you. You're grooming your audience for fascism. No, just the opposite. I don't know of anybody on the right, not a single person, who is okay with censorship. Can't say that too loud. Not a single one. I don't see anybody on the right going to these different social media companies and saying, you know what, we agree with the Democrats. We want to shut these people up. No, there's only one side who's trying to do that. There's only one side who's trying to get into your bank accounts and listen on your phones and everything else having to do with this globalist elitism ideology. That's fascist, not Michael Knowles grooming people, not me talking to you. They're grasping at straws.
And you set them up for a complete takeover of the DOJ. This is all about allowing Trump to get away with any crime he wants, as you sort of slighted and sort
Francesca.
of, laid out very nonchalantly just a little bit ago. He was impeached twice. Doesn't really matter that he tried to blackmail the leader of Ukraine into
She just said that Trump tried to blackmail. When we know for sure, because we've heard it on audio tape, actually videotape, where the current guy actually said, hey, if you don't give me the, blah, 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 and drop the charges, you're not going to get the $5 billion. And son of a bitch. 5 minutes later, the guy dropped the charges. Did she not realize we all saw that video?
digging up non-existent dirt on Joe Biden, but that doesn't matter to you.
Joe Biden.
Non-existent dirt. We have the video. The dude is sitting there on the video. Oh, by the way, those of you who are watching this, as I publish it on June 5th, there's a court case going on. And in that court case, we found out that the laptop that everybody said was Russian disinformation and that 51 intel officers said was not true, just got admitted into evidence by the FBI that previously said it wasn't real. Let that sink.
Trend withhold arms.
You want to make sure. You want to make
Francesca,
sure that when
you're
Trump is
accusing me
reelected,
of fascism.
he can get away.
That's a big,
he can get away
you're
with
accusing me
getting
of
rid of the
fascism. That's a
Department of
big
Education.
charge.
He can get away with doing away with the Department of Education. Oh my God! If you get away with doing away with some of these corporate agencies, these government corporate agencies, that's fascism. If you do away with the Department of Education, I'm okay with that. If you do away with the FBI or rebuild it, yeah, I'm okay with that. What is she talking about? Department of Education? Of all the things that potentially could go away, the Department of Education is something that's that important to her that she had to pick that out of the air and talk about that on this show? What's so special about the Department of Education? What are you afraid of losing if you lose the Department of Education? Maybe indoctrinating kids, indoctrinating college kids. Something's up, because that was the first thing she went for. Idiocy on display.
Would point out is that it's not my party that's imprisoning its political opponents right now. So if we're going to throw that accusation about it.
I was about to say one of the key tenets of fascism is you imprison your political opponents.
It's people saying, I'm voting for the felon, I'm voting for the felon.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, but see, you want a poll? I'll give you a poll. Take a look at what's happening there at the UFC fight and take a look at what's happening on TikTok.
Yeah. I mean, we're watching the end. This is when he came in. I mean, the place went completely nuts. And
there's nobody who can disavow this. Every time he's at one of these events, whether it's NASCAR, football, UFC, the crowd, who knows? I'm sure there's some anti-Trump people in the crowd, but 90% of the people at these events are, yes, Trump, Trump, Trump. They scream it. And then they scream the other thing, FJB, let's go Brandon. She doesn't seem to understand that. Even Mark Garagos, who's a Democrat, can't and would not impugn his credibility by saying this isn't real.
The trouble is, Francesca, I spend a lot of time in New York and LA. I have a place in LA and spend a lot of time working in New York. But I also do a lot of crime documentaries, ironically, which take me down to rural Florida, rural Texas, Alabama, places like that. And let me tell you, none of them agree with you. They all agree with that crowd at the UFC. And if I was a Democrat, I'd be quite unnerved that you've thrown the kitchen sink at this guy. And this is how a lot of the public are reacting.
Oh, I mean, it makes sense that he be cheered at UFC. I mean, they...
Okay. So I had to stop it because I don't want you to look away. I want you to pay real attention to what she's about to say, to even put an exclamation point on her idiocy. Are you ready for it? Okay. We're talking about the UFC right now. Makes sense that these people, these lowlifes at the UFC would be cheering for Trump because, and let her tell you why, she has a disdain for the UFC. Ready for it?
It's a sport full of actors, and we have this guy who's been pretending to be a serious politician for years now. Look,
they're not actors. Hang on. You're not besmirching UFC. Hang on. Fact check. You're thinking WWE.
She took a knife to a gunfight. That's the only explanation I have. She just denigrated, they're all actors, they're not real athletes, meaning she's never seen a UFC fight. In addition to not understanding the audience, she's never seen a UFC fight. And what she just said was that it's all fake and they're actors, because she didn't know the difference between the WWE and UFC. Her words out of her mouth, absolutely stunned. Piers Morgan had to tell her, nah, sweetie, you have no idea what you've been talking about. You've been on this panel for this entire video, and all you've done is show people that you're a freaking moron and have no idea what you're talking about, even down to the UFC. How embarrassing was this entire takedown for young Francesca?
The actors. The UFC, they're real fighters.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh at somebody like that, but the face she just gave, like, oh, I got caught again. Oh my God, help me. How do I get out of here?
Yes, I'm sorry. I don't have, cool, good.
Yeah, okay, cool. I'm an idiot. This woman just needs a lifeboat. She needs someone to throw her the life vest, pull her out. At this point, get the hook. She's lost. She's done. She's toast. She's been roasted. She's been embarrassed in a huge audience. I mean, Piers Morgan has a huge YouTube channel. I'm showing this to you. Probably going to be in excess of, 15 million people saw it on Piers Morgan's page, plus whoever watches this, and it's going all around. But I don't know if enough people have shown the entire thing, because this poor woman, she's got nothing left. So let's hear what she has to say about Judge Merchant.
That I don't think Judge Merchant, even though all y'all think that it's some sort of political hit job, they're not going to put him in jail. Sadly for me, I hope they give him some sort of community service soup kitchen situation.
I hope he gets community service. You know what community service I hope he gets? The White House. Can he serve there? Because if you guys know, she obviously doesn't, he served in the White House and he gave away his salary. He did actually do community service. She doesn't know that, but now she's just going to turn it and try to denigrate Trump more.
Just see that whatever is on his head in a hairnet, that'd be incredible. Or just make him work one day in his life, just a single day. Maybe.
Now I got to stop that. Many of you know I'm involved in real estate. I buy and sell houses. I'm not a realtor. I'm an investor. And what she just said just completely pisses me off, even personal. I'm an investor. My wife's a realtor. Trump has been a master developer for years in New York City. For her to say that this guy never worked a day in his life is the epitome, the absolute epitome of Marxist idiocy. What do you mean he never worked? I want you to drive around New York and see the names on these buildings. What do you mean he never worked? Because he wasn't the guy hammering a nail? He wasn't the guy screwing in a bolt? He never worked a day in his life? Are you friggin' kidding me? Do you understand what it takes to be a developer in any city? Never mind in New York City. She has completely no clue, as do a lot of liberal nuts. They don't know what it takes to build a business. They don't understand what is required to make a business operate. These people make me sick. I mean, seriously, they absolutely make me sick. By saying somebody has never worked a day in their life while they've been a successful real estate developer for years and years and years is insane. I don't understand how these people get a platform to spew the crap that they talk about. I mean, I told you it was bad. I told you it was embarrassing, but these are the nuts that we're dealing with. These are people who are wholly uninformed. They exist to do nothing but hate on Donald Trump. They don't even know what they're talking about. They don't even know why they hate Donald Trump. It really is Trump derangement syndrome. She's a perfect example of somebody with TDS. My wife likes to say it's biblical, that these people all have scales on their eyes, that they've got blinders on, and she may be right. It's a complete illogical fear that tells me these people are nuts. Unfortunately, they have a vote. As you saw, she denigrated Donald Trump as often as she possibly can. And she stands behind Dementia Joe. She stands behind a candidate that the special counsel of his own Department of Justice has determined he does not have the mental fitness. He doesn't have the mental clarity to stand trial. He couldn't do what Trump just went through. Yet This is the guy that these people want to elect. I can't make sense of it. If you can make sense of it, please let me know in the comments. Because all it seems like to me is that they have extreme cases of Trump derangement syndrome. Hey, just want to let you know that Donald Trump announced he's holding another rally, his first rally since a conviction. He's going to be doing it in Las Vegas on Sunday, June 9th. I'm going to go live at 2:30. If you'd like to join me, just click the button right here to be notified when I go live. And if you've been on any of my live broadcasts, you know we have a ton of fun. Hope to see you there. Click the button to be registered so you know when I go live. Talk to you soon.